Hey guys, welcome back to Teen Cooking 101. I'm Len. I'm the Young Adult Librarian at the Mobile Public Library. Now today we're going to be doing something just a little more difficult than we've done before. We're going to be talking about how to make spaghetti. So we're going to be cooking pasta, we're going to be browning meat, and we're going to be showing how to warm up pasta sauce. Now don't get intimidated, it's really very simple when you take it in pieces, which is what we're going to do today. So we're getting started by, we're going to boil our water and cook our pasta. Now when you're cooking pasta, you want to get the water to a boil, which a boil is you get air bubbles on the bottom that come up to the surface. You have a slow boil, which is little bubbles coming up slowly, and a rapid boil, which is big bubbles coming up quick. We're just going to do a slow boil. Rapid boils, you need them for some things, but we don't have to have that for pasta. We're going to be using a basic spaghetti noodle. Now some people will say you always have to use oil when you are cooking any kind of a noodle. That's not really true. For smaller noodles like spaghetti or angel hair, you don't actually have to use oil in the water. Oil helps the noodles not stick together when you have a lot of surface area. So think rigatoni, penne, the bigger noodles that have a lot of area to stick to each other. Spaghetti doesn't really have that much. Now, if you want to use oil, you certainly can. There's not a right or a wrong way to do that. But just keep in mind, if you're cooking bigger pasta, you will need to use oil. So let's get this water boiling and we'll add the noodles. Okay, we've got a nice, good, small boil on it. So I have small air bubbles. They're not huge air bubbles. And I'm just going to get some pasta going. You will need to learn how to measure out pasta. They sell little pasta measuring tools at like the dollar store. I would recommend it when you're first learning to cook for yourself and nobody else. It will help you from overcooking because you won't have a ton of pasta just hanging out. So some people put these in straight, some people break them. I personally break them. There's no wrong way to do it. It's just what you prefer. I just don't like super long noodles. And that's it. Now we're going to let them cook. That should take, because we had a boil going, only about 7 minutes. But I'll show you how to tell when your pasta is done when we get back. Okay, so now we're going to check and see if the pasta is done. Now there's a couple of ways you can do that. Some people say take a piece of pasta out, throw it on the wall. If it sticks, it's done. A coworker of mine, she takes it and she bites into it and sees if it's soft. I usually just fish out a piece and just feel it. Now mind you, you do risk getting burned with that, so keep that in mind. But generally, when they're all nice and noodly, all nice and limp, and slightly see-through, they're usually done. Yep, they let me poke right through it. So the noodles are done. We are going to then take them and put them into my colander, which is a pot with holes in it, and drain it. Here, where's my other one? I've lost one. It's all right. We're going to put this aside because this is where we're going to heat up our sauce. Now you'll want to rinse your pasta. When pasta cooks, it releases extra gluten. And gluten is part of the stuff that makes the noodles sticky. It does a bunch of other things too. But you're going to want to rinse that extra gluten and starch off. Otherwise it congeals and it's not as good, honestly, in my opinion. But feel free to experiment. Obviously this is about experimentation and learning how to cook. Now we're going to leave them to drain, and while that is cooling down, we're going to go ahead and cook our meat. Let me get this started on that. Alright, so I just have some basic ground beef, and we are just going to cook it in our pan. Now, unlike the burger, this you're going to want to go ahead and get well done. It's just more of an aesthetic thing with spaghetti versus a burger. So, now, at this time, if you wanted to make your plain marinara a little nicer, you could have pre-chopped some vegetables, some onions, some green pepper, mushrooms, and you could throw them in and cook them at the same time. Now, you'd want your meat a little more done. You don't want it this raw when you do that, because vegetables cook faster than meat does. So you're gonna wait till your meat starts browning a little bit, and then toss your vegetables in and cook them all together. Now, I have a very lean piece of meat. That means that I'm not going to have a lot of grease come off of the meat as it's cooking. So I'm not going to have to worry about draining it. If you get some maybe 80% lean meat, you'll need to probably drain it when you get done cooking it. If you have that situation, cook your vegetables later. You can see my meat is starting to brown, just like it's supposed to. If you'll see, I'm constantly trying to chop the meat up as I'm going, because I'm making sure that it's getting cooked all the way through. And I take it back, I might need to do a little drain on this before I add it to my noodles. I'll have to see when we get it fully cooked. It just goes to show, as you're cooking, you're going to see things that you might need to do later. So don't be afraid to make a change in your plans, such as, oh, I need to drain my meat. And you'll do that. The best way to do it, honestly, is to have a jar where you dispose of all cooking oils. The city has a way to dispose of them safely. You're not supposed to put it down the drain. It clogs up the sewer system. Don't do that. But this, we'll have to see. I may not have to do that. All right. So I'm going to set this aside, and now we're going to start warming up our pasta sauce. To warm up pasta sauce, open the jar. If you have a lot of extra sauce in it, you might want to put a little bit of water, shake it, and add it in, which is what I'm going to do. Now we wait for the pasta sauce to heat, which, since I have kept my oven eye on this whole time, should not take very long at all. Okay, so it is starting to heat up. You can always put your hand just a few inches from your sauce, and if you can't feel any heat, it's not warm enough. But if you can feel a little bit of heat, about 2 inches from your sauce, it's warm enough. That is my go-to test. Is it hot enough yet? Because I like my pasta sauce nice and warm. Almost there. I will go ahead and grab my noodles. Okay, I'm going to add my noodles first, which is that right there, and stir them in. And now I'm going to add my meat. Now you can add some bread to this, you can add a salad or any of those grilled vegetables like we talked about. But other than that, congratulations, you have made your first meal. So I'm gonna scare up a fork and try some. Okay, let's give this a good taste. I like wet spaghetti, so that means I put a ton of sauce in mine. Always have. Yummy. Well, thank you for joining me, and I hope that you give this one a try. And I will be back again with another cooking video for you real soon.